as always, we'll throw our picks up there, and you can take a look at them. And like I said, though, Jared at this point does not know what my picks are, so I guess he's okay with that. Maybe I won't show him my picks then every week. You prefer me not to show you my picks?
Yeah, I like having the surprise on air here.
Okay, so Jared's
exciting.
Jared goes with 4 picks this week, and I think I went with 6. Did I go with 7 or 6? Well, 6. Almost went with 7, but the problem was that the money situation didn't really work out too much, and we'll get into that as we always do. We're always going to talk about some of the players that we just didn't make our list, and just because they didn't make our list doesn't mean I'm not going to put money on them, because I put money on a whole bunch of golfers each week just in case. Sometimes it could be as little as $1 or $2, and sometimes it could be for $25. But what's your average a week? Budget for golf.
Yeah, I have a really strict process that I stick to, because I think I need to do that, or else I'll get all willy nilly and I'll be betting too many guys. So I bet $50 on this stuff a week, and I price my bet so all my winners pay out between $500 and $600. So if I have a guy that's 50 to 1, I'm betting $10 on him, so he wins me $500. So that's my process for this stuff.
And yeah, that's pretty. It's very reasonable. $200 a month. That's because usually too. Because do you have anything else you're doing between when the football season's over?
No.
Okay.
I'll bet on. I'll do the March Madness stuff. But
okay,
it's just golf.
There you go. See, me, it's a little bit different. Me, I'll do March Madness. I don't do a whole lot of college basketball. Like now, I just started to do a little college basketball. That's why I was saying off the air that I hit a couple of good money liners this weekend with Oklahoma State and Northwestern, but I couldn't hit. I actually did it with. I did on Sunday. I did Northwestern money line, Chiefs, and John Rahm was 3 to 1.
Oh,
so I missed out on that. But anyway, So and horse racing, I do that every week. I go to a horse racing show. I try to get too crazy with that, so it's about $30 a week. And then NASCAR starts this week with the Daytona 500. So I do NASCAR every week. So. But I don't do any of the big stuff. I don't do the hockey or the NBA or baseball. A lot of people do. I don't do any of that. So I like to. I especially love the future aspect of the sports that I do. Even it's horse racing. Even it comes into play with that as well. NASCAR, golf. I prefer doing that where if you hit it, you're making something instead of just straight bets.
Yes.
Yep. That's why I also like futures in football or money line bets in college football.
Yep. Yeah, I'll be tuning into your horse racing shows because I do bet the 3 Triple Crown races at least.
Yeah, everybody that's into sports usually has to get involved in some way, shape, or form with the big ones. The problem with the sport is people can't, they can't get the average fan like yourself to get involved with anything else other than the Triple Crown, or sometimes they can get into the Breeders' Cup. But
if it's a race on TV, I'll bet. I'm not going to.
That's the problem.
Race that I can't watch.
The broadcasting, the major network broadcasting schedule for horse racing is not very good. It's not very easy to follow. Okay, so let's get into it, and we already kind of were, but let's take a look actually at some trends that I came up with for this event. And again, we talked about the power hitter aspect. The last 10 first-time winners made an average of 7.1 appearances before winning here. That's not a surprise because this is, as we said, a tough golf course. So you want to have some experience on this golf course before winning. Adam Scott, when he won in 2005, was the last player to win this event, making his first appearance. Again, not a surprise. And also the last to win here, making less than 3 appearances. So anybody who's either in their first or second appearance here, not the likely chances of them winning, not very good.
That's interesting, and it goes back, I think, to the Masters correlation again, because it's the same deal at the Masters. I mean, first timers do not win there; they don't. It's
always
do well.
Fuzzy Zeller. Fuzzy Zeller's name every year.
Yeah. Now, again, I think it's a tough course, and it's a course with intricacies that you kind of need to learn, especially I think the green complexes and around the green. I do think experience is definitely something to look at this week.
Now, this is a little surprising. Only 2 winners in the last 10 have been ranked in the top 10 before winning here. Dustin Johnson, 3rd in 2017, and Bubba Watson, 6th in 2016. Of course, Bubba loved it here, winning 3 times. 6 of the last 12 winners, though, ranked outside the top 90 before winning here, including 224, 241, and 297. So what do you think about that comparison?
Yeah, it's surprising. I mean, I looked at it from an odds perspective. Only one of the last 10 winners was 25, was under 25 to 1, less than, and then 4 of the last 5 winners were 50 plus to 1, higher than 50. Now those fields weren't as strong as this week, but they're pretty strong. It's an invitational, it's Tigers event, like they're good fields. So that I usually lean towards the studs at these tougher golf courses, but something about Riviera, maybe and it is because it's a unique course that you need experience at. Something about it lends itself to more longer shots coming in.
And keep in mind too, even the last year's Neiman win, he was ranked 32nd at the time. He was making his 4th appearance, and he had never had a previous top 40. So he kind of bucked a few trends, but he was playing well coming into the event. Yep. And even Homa, I'm not sure. Did he only have one? I think he only had one top 5, and then he won, and then he was 10th last year. So coming into the win, he had only one previous solid year, but that's okay because at least it was a top 5 and it was the year before. And Homa was a young enough player where he was just getting into becoming the player he is today.
Yeah.
So what it tells you is, I do agree with the appearances, but what it does tell you is don't necessarily worry about whether or not the player has had any good experience here. He could just have a good week, and it could, for whatever reason. But of course, I think what's great is that the parity is so strong nowadays that it's a lot easier for us to take a look at some of these players that are outside that 25 to 1 you're talking about. There's tons of good players at 35, 50, 60, whatever, that we can go, yeah, let's grab those guys, which is basically what I think we've done.
For sure.
Only one of the last 5 winners ranked inside the top 30 before winning. That was Adam Scott in 2020 when he was ranked 14th. The others, or 3 of the others, included 91st, 100, and 117. Now, you were mentioning the Masters. I don't know if this matters, but 9 of the last 12 winners played at Torrey Pines. And that's another, tough golf course. And the last 7 winners had already had a PGA Tour win under their belt before winning here. And that's not surprising. Okay, so those are some of my trends. Now let's get into the picks and the overall odds. We talked about some of those. So again, at the top, Rahm, Scheffler, McIlroy. You would go with McIlroy.
I would, and I actually briefly considered betting Rory, which I never bet guys that low. I got to be honest. I don't love the board this week. Like nothing stuck out to me as like an awesome bet. So I was considering just basically putting it all on Rory at 10 to 1. But I opted against that.
There's the thing is, like you said, there's not like that immediate yes, but there's a lot of good choices, and that's kind of hard when you got a lot of good choices to go with. So
yeah, definitely like good choices. I guess what I mean is none of the actual odds stuck out to me as being like awesome numbers. Like again, I thought last week
like a bargain. You mean
at 25 to 1? Yeah, Justin Thomas was what I got him at 22 to 1 last week. There's just nothing that like sticks out like that to me. But yeah, like you said, there's definitely a lot of individual players to like, even if the odds aren't awesome.
Okay, yeah. I mean, well, we can go into, let's start getting into now. You mentioned Thomas. You got Thomas, Schauffele, Finau between 14 and 16 to 1.
Mm-hmm.
And look, I was going to play Finau. And then I was crunching my field, and I said, you know what? I played Thomas because I had a little bit of a gut feeling on him last week, plus his course history, and it worked. And I'm just going to stick with him because he doesn't have the history at this course that he has at Phoenix, and I get that. But he played really well after a slow start last week. So I'm not going to jump away from him to go with a guy like Tony Finau that's the same odds as he is. I'm just not going to do it.
Yep.
Justin Thomas is just 10 times the player Tony Finau is, and I'm getting better odds with Justin Thomas, or at least similar odds. So that's the reason I decided to stick with Thomas and bypass Finau, even though if anybody wants to take Tony Finau, I'm not going to walk you off that horse because, like I said, I'm even thinking about taking him for one and done.
Yeah, I'm not even sure I'd say that like Thomas at this point is a much better player than Finau or even Xander, but Thomas just has the winning pedigree. Like he's proven that he can win these golf tournaments. You know, you talk about top 5 odds. Finau might have the same top 5 odds as Justin Thomas, but if you ask me, you know, which one of those guys is going to win, I'm putting my money on Thomas. Good fit for him here too. Again, around the green, very important at Riviera. JT, one of the best around the green players in the world, and POA is his best putting surface by a pretty wide margin, which these greens are POA at Riviera.
Yeah, taking a look at it, it's strange that it's surprising he's not a little bit better here, but he does have 3 top 10s out of 8. He's got a runner-up in 2019, and he has 3 top 5s over his last 6 coming into this event. Finau, meanwhile, the reason we're talking up Finau, he has similar to JT, 3 top 15s out of 8, but 2 of those were runner-ups, and he's on a run right now of 6 straight top 20s with 4 top 10s and a win. He was 14th last week. So that combination of his runner-ups here, he was on your list as far as playing really well on this golf course over the last 5 years. That's important, and then of course he's playing well. So that's why it was easier for me to kick him off the weekly pick number. But yeah, but here's the thing with Finau. Maybe you agree with me, but it's tough to pick Finau where to put him on one and done because he's actually got a lot of different places you can go with. Unfortunately, dollar-wise, we talked about it. He might be better off taking him at a smaller event where you feel, you know what, it's not going to be big money, but it's a smaller field. He's better in those things. He's had good histories at some of those locations, and a win's a win. Why don't I just do that? So that's the thing that if I don't take him this week, that's kind of my strategy because he won 3M Open last year. He's good at Colonial. He's won Rocket Mortgage last year, and we can go down the line with a few others. So what about you?
Yeah, I get what you're saying. I do think Finau's good enough to win a major or win one of these elevated events. And to me, he's playing as well as he ever has over the last 12 months, even more specifically over the last 3 or 4 months now. I do think this is a good course for him. He's long off the tee. He has an underrated around the green game. It's always just the putting with Finau. And if you're trying to decide where to use him for one and done, bent grass greens are pretty easily his best surface, which tend to be the Northeast tournaments when we get up there. He's kind of an average putter on POA, so I think I'm leaning towards saving Finau for one of those tournaments that are on bent grass greens. Maybe it's the PGA Championship at Oak Hill over by me here.
Really? Okay, I'll note that PGA Championship because if we're looking at one major, then that would be the major for Tony this year.
I think so.
Okay,
yeah, I think so.
Cool. All right, let's move this along now. Homa, Morikawa, and Cantlay are all in the same stratosphere there. So Morikawa is on my list, as I mentioned. You went with Cantlay. Hey, congratulations, by the way, on some awesome handicapping last week. They weren't wins, but we talked about it. Tony Finau, not a great history. One good week at Phoenix. Sam Burns, nothing. And they both played really well last week. So that's why I like the contrast between your handicapping strategies and mine, because we don't usually pick the same players. We have completely different formulas, but they still work nonetheless. So because I did not look at Cantlay. He's not a power hitter. That's number one. He's better a power hitter than you would think. So let me forget. That's not the case. But if I look at here, he's got 5 top 35s and 7, including the last 5 years, 3 top 15s, 1 top 5. He was 33rd last year. The main reason I didn't like him this week was because of the fact that 2 reasons. One, I don't like the way he's trending. He missed the cut last week. It's another bad sign because he's never won an event when he's coming off a missed cut. That's kind of why I stayed away from him. But like I said, he surprisingly, sort of like Jordan Spieth, who's gotten a lot better in the power game. He's surprisingly a little bit more of a power hitter than you think.
Yeah, Cantlay is 37th in driving distance over the last 12 months. So he's not one of the top guys, but I think you said top 60 is kind of where you want guys. But he's in there. And listen, I hardly ever bet Patrick Cantlay. I can probably count on one hand how many times I've bet Patrick Cantlay. To me, 25-1 is pretty good value on him compared to some of these other guys in this range we're talking about. Like you said, I did miss the cut last week. It was his first missed cut since the PGA Championship back in May. He followed up that with a third place finish at the Memorial, so he can bounce back. Again, I've talked about I want well-rounded players at this golf course. I don't want guys that have a clear weakness in their games. To me, Cantlay does not have a clear weakness in his game. He gains strokes long-term, off the tee, approach, around the green, and putting. Fifth in course history here. That includes 5 straight cuts made. 4 of those were top 17s. He's gained off the tee in all 5 of those last 5 appearances at Riviera. Gained on approach in 4 of the last 5. So it's obviously a course that he likes. And again, I think he has the game to win it, and I like him at 25-1.
Yeah, I was just disappointed and so far have been disappointed in his year so far. Because he didn't play well at Century. He did not play as well as we thought he was going to play at a very bad golf course at American Express. And then he missed a cut last week. He was never in it last week. So, but like you said, there are bargains out there. He's 5th in the world for a reason. And he's 25-1. And he's played well here before. Okay. Then we've got, by the way, Morikawa. Just the thing with Morikawa is the one thing, like I said, I'm a little bit worried about whether or not his game overall is power game. But again, I think he's more of he's like Spieth. I'm looking at, when I look at that kind of stat, I'm going to eliminate a lot of the other guys like the Keegan Bradleys or some, but I'm not going to eliminate great players like Spieth or Morikawa because they're the type of guys that can buck those trends. But that was his best finish by far. He's made all 3 cuts here, and the miscut last week was really out of nowhere, to tell you the truth, because he was playing so well. So. All right.
Yeah, I gave Morikawa a long look at 22-1 as I usually do if he's in that range. I'm not worried about the distance off the tee. Again, my only concern would be the around the green stuff. He was good around the green when he came second here though last year. So again, maybe he's figured something out at this course. He has this will be his 4th time playing it now, so he has the experience we're looking for.
Isn't he a California player?
Yep.
Okay.
He is.
So that
he won the it was the PGA Championship he won in San Francisco there.
Okay. So so that's and he does have a win in his career following a miscut. Okay, then you have Hovland, and we can take a look at some other players like Burns, Spieth, Young, Zalatoris. So out of that group, again, Hovland is I can understand why anyone would like him this week. He's played twice, top 5 both times. So I completely get that. Again, we talked about some of the other, if you're talking about a winning kind of deal, whether this would be the week that he could do it, but why not? Why do you think that, when you take a look at Hovland, why do you think that, like, would you, because you didn't pick him, I didn't pick him, yet he's got 2 top 5s here in two appearances. So he's done nothing wrong here. So why do we stay away from Victor Hovland?
Yeah, he's just a guy I don't bet very often. I think part of it is because we said he just hasn't shown it in one of these big events yet. His wins are kind of the sub-field events. And I think more specifically for this week, it's the around the green stuff. Around the green is more important this week than it is in your average tour event. And Hovland is still a below average around the green player.
And again, maybe unusual that he finished top 5 both years here, but okay.
And he lost strokes around the green both of those years. He was just so good with off the tee and on approach.
So basically what that's saying is he's got to continue to be very good in those other ways, or else he's not going to have a chance. So
I'm not even sure he can be much better than he has been off the tee and approach. He needs to probably save a couple of those shots around the green that he hasn't if he wants to win.
Burns and Spieth are on my picks list. I've already taken Spieth in my one and done. I'm thinking about Burns because Burns is another one of those players we said, do you take him do you save him for the Valspar? But then again, everybody probably will. And another event, I forget which one it is that he won there. So there's a couple of easy events, but if there's a difficult course, maybe this is it. Because if you look at it too, and this is what I also try to handicap as if I have time, and I had a little bit more time, and I'm trying to do that, trying to get like you and handicap these events on Sunday instead of Mondays. So if you look at it, he's got 2 missed cuts here, and only 2 top 25s and 1 top 5. The thing to keep an eye on, though, is that when he came into these events, he hadn't actually played well in the events and in the times that he was not didn't have a good result on this golf course. So in other words, last year he missed a cut here, but coming in he had back-to-back missed cuts. A couple of years ago he finished third. He came in here with 3 straight top 40s, 2 top 25s. So it seems like when he's playing well, he could play well here, and he is playing very good again. He's trending in the right direction, and like that's why I'm thinking, do I risk taking him on a tough golf course, which he's never won before, or do I save him for one of the easy ones?
Yeah, Burns is definitely playing well. He's gained in all 4 categories in each of his last 2 events now, 11th place and the 6th place. POA is his worst putting surface.
Okay.
But he's gained strokes putting in 3 of his 4 appearances here. So he has done well on these greens. The ball striking hasn't been good here. Like you said, it has been lately. So I think for me, it's not a spot to use Burns in one and done. I think there will be better spots, but I have no qualms with betting Sam Burns this week.
And then you take a look at Spieth, and I think that 6th place finish last week is a strong indicator that he might be ready to win again. We've kind of been waiting for that, and now maybe it's possible. Yeah. I love the odds at 35-1. And like I said, he's a much better power hitter than he was early on in his career, so that is not an issue. He has 6 top 30s in 10 appearances, 2 top 10s, and 1 top 5. So, look, if you have him and you have an availability to take him at one and done, you might want to consider him. But I've already taken him, so that's why it was no problem me putting him in my weekly picks.
Yeah, Spieth came 6th last week, and he lost strokes putting. He was unbelievable with the irons. It was his 3rd best tournament in terms of strokes gained approach of his entire career. It was an
strange. So his putter's really been holding him back the last few weeks.
Really? He's lost strokes putting in 2 straight events. But I wouldn't worry too much about that.
No.
If he can continue that iron play, he will definitely be in the mix this week.
And then our boys Young and Zalatoris are playing. Of course, Young played here last year. Only appearance finished 2nd. Zalatoris. Look, we just need to see Zalatoris play a few events and not miss out and all that stuff before we take him.
Yeah, I mean, you can get 40-1 on Zalatoris, which is really, really tempting to me. I'm probably just going to not allow myself to bet it because I still don't think he's fully healthy. He did an interview on the No Laying Up podcast, like an hour-long interview, and he was talking about how he actually has had to change his swing a little bit to try to prevent the back issues from creeping up again. So I need to see it, so at least some signs from Zalatoris before I bet him. But 40-1 is tempting. This is the type of course you want to bet Zalatoris at. We
both have Fitzpatrick and Day in our picks. Fitzpatrick 5th 2 years ago here, 30th before that. Did not play last year. Only 1 top 5 though in his last 8 overall. 29th last week. And Jason Day, if you look at him now. This is not a good golf course for Jason Day. But the reason why I would be willing to forget that, as I said, Joaquin Niemann did not play well here either and won last year. That's number 1. Number 2, he's playing very well because part of that is he's healthy. He's trending in the right direction. In this year's events, he's 18th, 7th, and now 5th. So all of that and coming to a golf course I think if there's a player that can disregard his previous history and you're getting 40-1, I can see both Fitzpatrick and Day being pretty good bargains to keep an eye on.
Yeah, it's strange that Day hasn't played well here because he's always been one of the better around the green players in the world, and POA is his best putting surface. So
that's strange.
It seems like it should be a pretty good fit for him.
Well, here's the point, but let's keep this in mind. He's only made 2 appearances here since 2012.
Yeah, so I wouldn't worry about that too much. Then he's playing awesome. I think Jason Day is going to win this season.
I agree.
He's playing too well not to. I bet Fitzpatrick 40-1. I just think that's too big of a number. This guy won the U.S. Open 8 months ago, and he's like twice the odds of your Homa in that tier. And there are concerns. I guess there's reasons why Fitzpatrick is 40-1. He has lost. He's not playing well. He's lost strokes on approach in all 3 events so far this season. He had that neck issue that they were talking about at Pebble Beach. Didn't play well there, obviously. What I like though is last week, the finish wasn't great, but you look at his round by round, he went 70 in round 1, 71 in round 2, 73 in round 3, shot a 65 in round 4. was third in strokes gained tee to green in that final round. So I'm hoping he kind of figured something out. Maybe the neck issue is behind him. Fitzpatrick, third best in this field on difficult golf courses. He won the U.S. Open. That was obviously a difficult golf course. And 30th and 5th in his last two appearances at Genesis, including that 5th place in 2021. He gained strokes across the board, all 4 categories in that event. So I do think it's a good course fit for him.
Sounds good to me. All right, and then we've by the way, the only other player that I was surprised of his odds were Matsuyama. He's now 50-1, Matsuyama, and I know he's not playing well, but he's had a pretty good history here, so there's nothing wrong with that. But I was surprised that he's up to 50-1 now. That's a big number for Hideki, and I don't think I've ever seen him at 50-1. Well, I know he had a cold spell. I shouldn't say that, like a couple years ago. Other than that, we have been talking about he's always like 30-35-1, but now 50-1. So,
yeah, I might have to look at that and give it a roll of the dice. I mean, that's just too big of a number for Hideki. We talked about Spieth though. It was his third best tournament in terms of strokes gained approach last week. It was Hideki's second worst of his entire career last week. The irons were just horrible, so that's concerning.
Yeah. And last week was a great venue for him. This one is just a good one. So, okay. Also, you got Fowler and Scott at 55 in that range, and I did not put Fowler. Wait, I totally forget even my own picks. Did I put, because I was close to putting both of them on there, and I think I knocked Fowler off of my picks. Yeah, I did. So, but I'm still going to take him this week, but none of my picks, and Scott either. Actually, both of them did not make my picks, but I like them both. I mean, why not? Again, if you're ever going to take Adam Scott, this is the week, especially for one and done. It's his best golf course. He's winning 13 to 14 cuts, 10 top 20s, 7 top 10s, 5 top 5s, 2 runner-ups, 2 wins, and he's actually playing okay. He just doesn't play a lot, so you kind of forget about him. And then Fowler, meanwhile, as we've been saying for the past few weeks, is just getting better and better, slowly and surely. He's got 5 top 35s in his last 7, 3 top 10s, a runner-up. He was 10th last week. He's just been okay here, though. That's part of the reason why I figured I'm saving him for this Florida swing, because he's very good in Florida, and I'm thinking of using him. If he continues to play well, I might just use him as a one and done in one of those Florida events.
Yeah, definitely playing well. This isn't a course that just seems like it would suit Fowler that well. And like you said, the results haven't been that good. He struggled putting here. He's not a good putter in general. So, between these two, I would definitely prefer Adam Scott, just, based on that course history.
And then rounding out, as far as the rest of our picks, we take a look at, again, you only had 4. And your last pick, your big long shot, was actually you took him last week too. So you're hogging up on Luke List, but I was thinking of taking him as well. So we both like Luke List, 200-1. He's been dropping, so keep an eye on that. Maybe by the time you even watch this podcast, it might even be dropping further than that. Why not? He's got 4 top 30s and 7 appearances here, 1 top 5. He's got the power game. So a lot of things that I really like about him that trend well here. He's matter of fact, we talked about the Farmers Insurance deal. He's defending champ this year of winning it last year, so he's played well at Farmers. So yeah, I think if you're looking for a really good 100-1 or longer long shot, I don't think you could find a better one this week than Luke List.
I mean, he's 12th in my model, so I mean, 251 for guy 12th, because he's 4th in this field. This is over the last 12 months. He's 4th in this field off the tee. He's 21st on approach, and he's not bad around the green. He's 53rd around the green. As always, it's the putting with Luke List. That was the problem last week. He missed the cut on the number at the Waste Management, but he gained strokes off the tee and on approach. He lost 2.5 strokes putting. And again, this is a week where I wouldn't get too crazy with long shots. I think it's very likely going to be one of the top 20 players that wins this.
Long shots have won here, as we said, so.
True. None of them 250-1. But,
well,
I do think
he's 98th in the world, so he fits that model.
I think he should be. He should be 100-1 or 150-1. I think 250 is pretty good value.
Maybe it wouldn't surprise me if he got down to like 150 or 125 by Wednesday. And then my last long shot is Hadwin. He played well last week, of course. He's got 3 top 20s last 4, 2 top 10s, 10th last week. And keep this in mind, his only win ever on the PGA Tour happened in March. So this is the time of year that might be good for him. And he's got 6 top 35s out of 8 appearances here with 1 top 10. So again, doesn't have the power game to win here, but that's why, as Jared said, there's not a whole lot of long shots that, I was thinking of Wyndham Clark at 80-1 because he's played well here before. He's got a good power game. The only reason I decided against it was because, and by the way, he's got 2 top 20s and 1 top 10 here in 2 appearances. It's just, again, I only had so many players that I could put into my picks, but I'm definitely putting a couple of bucks on him at 80-1 this week.
Yeah, the other 3 longer shots I considered were Wyndham Clark for the reasons you mentioned. Keegan Bradley, who I think we talked about, but he's playing really well, and he's good on difficult golf courses. And then Taylor Moore, I looked at.
Taylor Moore, that's our boy, man. He's coming.
Playing very well. Awesome POA putter. He's one of the best POA putters in the field. So I think he's still 130, 150 to 1. So he's worth a look.
Absolutely. Last 3 events this year, 11th, 15th, and 14th. He played here for the first time last year, finished 21st at 7 under par. That's impressive for a young kid playing at Riviera for his first time. Okay, so that's going to wrap it up. We will be back again next Monday night, and then we're going to try to record these shows. Last week we did it on Monday because of a schedule change. We decided maybe that's the way to go. So this is, of course, being recorded on Tuesday afternoon. We're going to return to Monday, and we're going to try to stick with Monday nights. So then you can look out for these shows next week on Monday nights. And then we're also going to be introducing a special guest next week. Hopefully we'll have him on from time to time. Of course, Jan will also make her appearance sometime real soon, Jan Stevenson. But next week, when we preview the Honda, we'll have a special guest who will join us to open the show. And why not? The more the merrier. And then we'll get on to our usual business of handicapping the Honda and recapping, which we hope will be a lot more of an exciting weekend this weekend than trying to catch Scotty Scheffler, which was a pretty hopeless cause just a couple of days ago. So, Jared?
Yeah, I think Riviera will deliver a good finish. And then excited for the Florida swing. Those are really fun golf courses. A lot of water in play on those, so you can have some blow up holes. But it's fun if your guys can avoid the water.
What is that? That's Honda. Is it then Bay Hill?
It's API. I think it's API, Honda API, and then the Players.
Awesome. Okay. That's a pretty awesome 3 in a row in Florida. So looking forward to it. Jared, appreciate it as always. Great job. We'll talk to you next week.
All right. See you.